Hello and welcome to Keystone Tutorings. Today we are going to be introducing a financial maths segment on this channel, and we're going to be introducing it with simple and compound interest. Just for your reference, we're going to be splitting the video into these four segments, starting what simple interest is and what is compound interest, the difference between the two, their formulas, and then three examples at the end to clarify your understanding. Awesome. So let's just break down interest. I'm sure we all have some form of an idea what interest is. Let's say we put money into a savings account at a bank, and if we do this every so often, we will receive small payments relative to how much money we put in. Um, to give you a bit of a brief of why this occurs is because when you hold money into a bank account, the bank doesn't just let that money sit, it invests that money for you. So they can generate more money from that, and in return, they give you some slight amount of profits they earn on your money. Um, so to incentivize you to hold it within their accounts. So simple interest is the interest charged on only the original principal throughout the lifetime of the contract. So no matter how much interest you earn, let's say you put in $100, and then you earn 10 cents, let's say, every payment, you're only ever going to earn interest on that $100. You're not going to earn on the accumulation of the funds. Whereas compound interest, this is what will be used when you put money into a bank account, primarily compounded at certain times of the year, is when you put in the original principal, you get interest on that. And then from that, let's say you have $100, you earn 10 cents on your first interest payment. On the next payment, you'll be charged or received interest based on the $100 plus the 10 cents. So you earn interest on top of previous interest earned. Now that still may be a bit confusing. Let's sort of clarify it. So here's the difference. So let's break this out. We have the simple interest column here and the compound interest column here. So do you earn interest on your interest? In simple interest, no. In compound interest, yes. What are the effect of this? So over time, you have linear growth. So a straight line such as can be seen here, that will be your simple interest. You'll just continue to earn interest on the $100, let's say. In this example, we put in $1,000 at 5%. We'll only ever earn interest on that $1,000 at 5%. We won't earn interest on anything further than that. Whereas our compound interest, which is our orange line here, has exponential growth. It's a snowball effect. So as you can see here, quite similar in this period because you're not earning too much compound interest. You're not earning too much interest within this 2 year period, but from that we can start to see a divergence. So the more money you keep within that account, the more interest you'll earn. So like here at one, let's say we're at 1,400. Um, so we'll have 1,400 in the account here. We'll be charged interest for compound the interest on that 1,400, not on the original 1,000. But as we can see at the same time period, the simple interest is only earning roughly, let's say, around 1,325 because we're only being charged on the 1,000. But for the compound interest, we're earning interest on our interest plus our principal. So let's go into the formulas. So simple interest just has one, and it's quite simple. So the amount accumulated or paying, because interest can be you have to pay, such as if you take a housing loan, for example, it's just the principal, and then you times that by one plus the rate of interest that you earn or have to pay and the time. Usually, so it's important we define the rate and time. In general, um, a very basic understanding is in terms of years. So time would be in terms of years, the rate would be in terms of years. But it's very important to look at the question because it can vary. If it says semi-annually, for example, that means it's every 6 months. So the rate would be in terms of every 6 months, and time would be in 6 months. So if you wanted to find out in a year's time for a semi-annual, you would do time as two, not one, because there's been two interest payments and the rate you would calculate semi-annually. Compound interest is a bit more interesting. we have two sort of formulas for this. We have compounded n times per year and compounded continuously. So compounded n times per year means we are getting interest payments at set periods of times. So for example, let's use the semi-annual example. If that would mean we'll get paid our first interest at the 6 months, our second at the 1 year mark. So the n times here would be 2 because semi-annual referring to two interest payments. Annually would just be 1. Continuously compounded is a bit different in this sense, is that it assumes the interest is compounded at every single moment. So you can think of it at every single second, every single moment of the day, your interest is being compounded. Obviously, in a real world example, you're not going to really be seeing that number change every single second, but it does occur. Um, so at every single moment, it's compounded, and therefore we use a different formula. So for n times per year, it's principal bracket 1 plus the rate at which it's compounded over the number of times it's compounded to the power of n, the number of times compounded, times t. Sorry, that n is the same as this here. I should clarify that. And principal is the principal interest, and sorry, continuously compounded is principal interest times the exponential of our rate we are given times our time. Awesome. So let's go on to three simple examples of all these three scenarios. So if we borrow $500 from a friend, so we go to a friend, we say we need $500, and he says, listen, I'll give you it, but I want 6% interest per year. That's pretty steep. Maybe we should reconsider borrowing from that friend. Maybe a bank might be a bit more friendly to us. But in terms of this question, let's proceed. How much would you have to repay your friend within that 2 year period? So let's say you just say to him, okay, you know what, I'll take your 500, but you know what, I can't pay you for another 2 years. And he says, okay, that's fine, but I want 6% compounded per year, and I'll charge you simple interest. I'm not gonna charge you anything more than that. So we go back to the formula, principal 1 plus rate times time. So what's our principal here? Our principal is 500, is the amount we initially borrowed. Our rate is, so here we are in terms of per year, as you can see. So this would be annually. Annually means once per year. So the rate would be 0.06 times per year. And we say we're going to pay him back in 2 years. So the time is 2. So just plugging all that in, we have 500 bracket 1 plus 0.06 times 2. And the amount we have to pay our friend back after 2 years is $560. Awesome. So now we're in a different scenario. Now we've got a bit of money. We've got $1,000. Our 500, we've been able to, make that work for us. And we've received 1,000. Then we have $1,000 to play around with. But we want to be safe. We don't really want to risk that money. We want to put it into a bank account. And we want to say, I want to earn money on this. So what will we do? So you have your 1,000 and we put into an account and the bank is paying us 4% per year. So once again, per year is very important here, meaning we are being compounded annually. Sorry, per year. But this question stipulates this is compounded semi-annually. Semi meaning half. So if annually is once per year, half of that meaning we are being paid interest every 6 months. And it is compounded interest, which is the important part. So we know we're being paid twice a year and we're being compounded. So we're not being paid at every single moment, but it's compounding. So let's use this formula here. Our principal, 1 plus rate over the number of times compounded to the power of the number of times compounded times the time. So we say to ourselves, okay, let's put it in for 3 years, and how much would we expect to receive within that 3 years? So the principal is 1,000, the rate here, 0.04, the time 3 years, and the number of compounding is 2. So we get compounded twice a year. So we got 0.04 per year divided by 2 because we're being compounded semi-annually. So we have to divide our per year by 2. Otherwise, if it was annually, this would just be 1. And then to the power of 2 times 3. And after 3 years, we would have $1,126.16 within our bank account. Awesome. So we'll go into our last example of continuously compounded interest. So we have $2,000 continuously compounded at a 3% rate. What is our return on investment you would have after 4 years? It's very important to note in our continuously compounded example, we're not worried about how many times a year we're compounded because as we stipulated, continuously compounded means at every single moment we're being compounded. So we don't have to find this here. So let's go back. What would the formula be? It would be our principal times the exponential or to the power of r times t, our rate times our time. So our principal here is $2,000. Our rate we are given is 0.03 per year, and we are putting it in for 4 years. So let's plug all that in, 2,000 times e to the power of 0.03 times 4. And after 4 years, we will have a healthy sum of $2,254.99. Awesome. So that is all for today's video. I hope you were able to take something out of this. Please let me know what further content you would like to see. Thank you for your time and best of luck in your studies.